3:03. Let me give it one more minute, especially since we're seeing a lot of activity and folks are jumping on. All right, we're going to go ahead and get started at 227 attendees. Once again, welcome. Thank you for joining us. We are 13 days away from our region's point in time count. And I know for many of you, this is the third meeting or more. I know we've met with some of the, or most of the cities individually by now. And so we've had a lot of time with each of you. And so we want to thank you. We know you recognize the importance of these meetings because as a region, we depend largely on federal and state resources to end homelessness. And we need to comply with the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development mandate to facilitate a count. I'm happy to report, truly happy to report out that all 28 cities have committed to helping us with this effort. We thank you, and I also want to thank the many public safety teams that are on this call, including our county sheriff's teams and our various county departments and community and faith-based organizations, in addition to individual advocates and friends and allies who are here and have also agreed to volunteer and support the count. We wanted to remind you that this is more than a count and an opportunity for us to connect with our unsheltered neighbors who are fighting for survival, especially during the colder months, which we are very much experiencing now. Many of the people that you will come in contact with on the day of the count are fighting health conditions that only worsen when left untreated and when under harsh environments. Many are fleeing domestic violence and other forms of abuse. And with that said, also recognizing that a lot of them are just trying to keep up with the day-to-day and too often with very, very little sleep. And I know that many of you engage with our unsheltered neighbors on a daily basis, and you know these reasons and many more because the list just goes on and on. And that is why it means so much to us at the county and our department, Housing and Workforce Solutions. We have several team members from our department on the line. I saw that our Assistant Director, Mike Walsh, jumped on. Rashana Walker, who oversees all of our programs, is on the call, in addition to other staff that you will hear from today. We all really, really appreciate you for joining us and helping us connect with thousands of individuals for a few minutes on the day of the count and giving them the gift of human interaction. During this interaction, you will exchange or provide each person with a backpack with hygiene supplies and a resource flyer that includes a number to our Home Connect hotline, which they can access at any time to learn more about housing and services. And as you've heard us say in the previous community planning meetings, this is very much intended to be more than a count because we mean when we say that we truly want to take advantage of the opportunity of having all of you. I think we have over 500 volunteers who have registered as of today. And we are going to be asking you to help us connect young adults who are 18 to 24, seniors who are 60 years and older, and veterans to housing on the same day of the count. And don't worry, we have time today where one of our team members will be coming on to talk about how exactly you will be doing that. It's very, very much a collaborative effort that has taken a lot of planning, and we are thankful. But before we even get there, we also know that there are many rational reasons why someone that you encounter on the day of the count may be hesitant to speak to you or accept any help, right? In many cases, you may come across a young adult who has been part of the foster care system their entire life, or a veteran who has served and may be reluctant to receive government assistance. Maybe you're going to come across a senior who has experienced some form of identity fraud and may not be willing to risk being identified again, and as a result may be hesitant to share personal information about themselves. You may also encounter a person struggling with mental health, and they may not be in a state to fully understand the help that is being offered to them. Similarly, there are individuals who have gone to shelter and they've been in a facility with other individuals sleeping right next to them and had a bad experience. Maybe their items were taken away. Maybe there was some form of an altercation. And so these are all reasons why, again, someone may not be willing, at least at first, to take time to participate in the count or say yes to housing. We know you understand this, but we just think it's important to reiterate that and remember that we do have trained professionals through our various outreach teams with a lot of the different agencies that are on this call, in addition to our partners who have staff, social workers through our adult services division and the behavioral health crisis teams across the county. And just know that for the individuals who are struggling with saying yes to us the day of the count, those teams that I just mentioned on a day-to-day are actively engaging those folks and working to build up that trust to get them connected to services. With that said, we also know, and I think what makes us most excited is knowing that there will be people that you are going to encounter the day of the count that are going to be really, really excited about your help. And we're thankful that you are able to help us facilitate such a meaningful connection. So remember, my time here is almost coming to an end, that yes, we are completing a census of people who are experiencing homelessness, but we have an opportunity together to do more than that. A chance at having a conversation with our unsheltered neighbors where we get to demonstrate empathy and leave them with hope. So I hope we'll all take a minute to just think about what we hope to give or leave the people that we encounter with before going out the day of the count. And when we think about that, I think a lot of us, the one word that comes to mind is hope. So thank you again for agreeing and signing up to participate in the count to help us do just that. And with that, I'm going to hand it off to our COC chair, Karen Roper, who is excited to have a few minutes with you before we hand it off to our ASR team who has been helping us plan for the count. Thank you.
Tanya, great job. Thank you so much. Just a couple of words. First of all, Tanya, to you and the whole HWS team, this is a massive logistical undertaking. And I just want to thank you guys for the heavy lift that you've done to bring everybody together. This is a 7,303 square mile county, one of the biggest counties in the United States. Second, I want to thank everybody that is going to be participating in this effort. And I want you to get excited and to capture the vision, because remember, in January, across the entire US of A, continuums of care all throughout the nation are participating in the count. And this data that is going to be given to HUD is actually going to be compiled in the annual homeless assessment report that HUD uses to give to Congress. And Congress uses that to make funding decisions. This process, and it's not just about a numbers thing, it's not just about money, because I love that Tanya's focus is the human aspect, which is first and foremost. But I hope that you guys will get excited to be a part of something that's big, and that what you're doing is contributing to an extremely important policy document that does go to Congress. And of course, the state uses all of the data as well that impacts funding and policy decision. The county uses it, foundations use it. I mean, it has a dramatic impact in so many ways. And so I just want you all to know how important the work that you're doing is and the massive impact that it's going to have. And I just want to, it's a commitment of time and effort. And I just want to tell you from the bottom of my heart, as the chair of the Continuum of Care, it's a privilege to work with you and serve in this space. And I want to thank you for taking time out of your busy day to be with us here, but more importantly, to get up at the crack of dawn and to get ready and go out and interact with people and do what we can to capture important data. Tanya, thank you so much for the opportunity to say a few words.
Of course. Thank you, Madam Chair. And with that, James, I'll go ahead and hand it off to you.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Karen. Thank you, Karen, and thank you, Tanya, for the welcoming words and really kind of setting the frame on the lead up to the count here. I am gonna go ahead and share my screen here in a minute and get the presentation up. Give me 1 second here. All right. Hopefully everyone can see my my screen up here. I wanted to first go ahead and introduce myself. My name's James Connery with Applied Survey Research. We are a nonprofit survey research company based out of the Bay Area, and we have been helping continuums of care in counties and communities all across the United States over the years, going through the pit count process. So happy to be working with the Riverside County folks, and happy to be working with you all. Just to kind of set the frame a little bit, first, a couple housekeeping things I wanted to mention. First, we will be recording the presentation and sharing the recorded version out to everybody, so they have a chance to view the presentation if they've missed it. Also requesting that everyone enter their name into the chat box. Just to confirm attendance, we'll be tracking everyone's participation in one of the trainings. So if everyone could take a minute and just go ahead and enter their name into the chat box, that would be great. We do have a little bit of time at the end to answer any questions that come up. However, in the meantime, throughout the course of the presentation, feel free to enter a question or comment into the chat box, and someone from the PIT team, the Riverside County Planning team, will hopefully address those. If just due to the length of a response required, there might be some questions that we follow up with at a later date, but we will address each of those in the chat as best we can. Wanted to circle back to the words that Karen mentioned and Tanya, and just reiterate how thankful we are for all of you for joining us. We have around 300 folks here on the training today. And, like Tanya and Karen mentioned, I think thinking of all the volunteers that have dedicated their time and efforts and their passion and interest in this, in the homeless population is really heartening to hear, and just excited to see all of us come together and really put our like Tanya mentioned, really leading with hope and thinking of the 300 folks on this call as touch points to this population is really heartening. So thank you all for joining us, and looking forward to the upcoming pit count. Wanted to kind of review the objectives of the training today. First, we'll learn about the specifics of the homeless count. Karen and Tanya mentioned a little bit of why it's done, getting a little more detail there. Learn what sort of preparation we'll need for the count, the various roles of the teams, and get into some of the specifics of how to perform the count, and review some safety tips throughout the count process. And then lastly, get into some specifics about the survey tool, logistics, and how that'll all work out on the day of the count. As a reminder, we are requiring all participants that will be assisting in this year's count to have gone through the register volunteer process. So there's a link on the Rivco Pit Count website that has volunteer registration. So if you or one of your teammates that are planning on participating on the count have not yet volunteered, please do so. I believe my colleague Alex can put that link into the chat box to access that volunteer registration form. It gets everyone's emails in the same spot for us. So when we get into team creation and team assignments and sending out additional information and updates, we'll have that information through the volunteer registration form. On that form, you'll get a chance to indicate what city you prefer to volunteer in, if you have transportation, what languages you speak, and then also just kind of collect some basic liability information and emergency contact information. All right. In terms of the specifics of the pit count process, the count begins on the 22nd. So January 22nd is really the main pit count day. That is when all jurisdictions will be conducting their point in time count throughout Riverside County. There are, like we mentioned, it is a county-wide count. So we have some unincorporated areas that will be conducting their counts as well. Those counts will be done on Thursday and Friday for the most part. New this year is the youth count really being integrated into the general street count. That's kind of one initiative this year. So that's something that is a little bit different, and something to keep in mind. Tanya also mentioned the More Than a Count initiative. That is an opportunity for folks to receive same day additional services, and that includes the veteran population, the youth population, and the senior population. And a little later in the presentation today, we'll pass things over to Roshana, who will get into some specifics with that. Additionally, there are some cities that and regions of the county that will have a service-based count, tapping into existing services that are offered through various programs, and having an opportunity to be counted and included in the overall count process as well, that will be happening on January 22nd. So getting into the overall question, what is a point in time count? The point in time count is a physical count of the sheltered and unsheltered homeless population in a certain location. Like was mentioned, it is a nationwide mandate by Housing and Urban Development, and it is a requirement to be done in the last 10 days of January. It's like I mentioned, it's a federal mandate. The data collected for the point in time count is used to determine resources needed to address homelessness and also determine the extent of homelessness in our community. It also is a tool to help raise public awareness about homelessness, and then having the consistency of an every year or every other year approach to tracking homelessness allows for trend tracking over time, so we can track progress and see what tweaks and improvements we can make. So who is counted in the count? It is a count of all sheltered and unsheltered persons experiencing homelessness. The sheltered portion of the count is typically compiled from sheltered reported information through the Housing Management Information System. And then in addition to that, there is the unsheltered portion, which is really the portion that we're going to be focusing on today. So all individuals and families with a primary nighttime residence that is not normally used for human habitation. That's the definition that is used for point in time counts. So those are folks that are living in cars or vehicles, living in parks, abandoned buildings, buses, train stations, airports, RVs that are not fit for sleeping due to no access to electricity, plumbing, or hookups are really the main population areas that we're going to be targeting in this year's unsheltered count. In terms of how the data is collected, similar to previous years, we'll be using a mobile survey tool. Volunteers will use their mobile devices to conduct the interviews with people experiencing homelessness.
Thank you.
That information is all entered into an app called Survey 123. It is created by Esri's ArcGIS platform. Those that have conducted a count in Riverside before are probably familiar with this app, and might even find that as you go to download it might still be hanging out on your phone. So the survey is pretty user friendly and incorporates skip logic that will really kind of walk you through what you need to ask, when you need to ask it. And similar to if folks are familiar with any sort of online survey process, it has required questions and then we'll give you additional prompts to kind of walk you through the process. So if you have your smartphone with you or nearby, this is what the Survey 123 app looks like in your app store. If you have an Android or an Apple phone or any smartphone, you'll just navigate to the App Store and look for this icon. Survey 123 is the name of it. As a reminder, if you already have the app on your phone, you can skip this step entirely. You will be prompted. Your phone typically will prompt you to allow location services to be used while using this app. That is an important feature of this app, so something that you will need to allow. We will be using the phone's location services to drop points on known locations. So that is a feature that we ask that you please allow when you get to that question. Right now, in terms of what steps can be taken, we're asking that all folks download that Survey 123 application onto their phone. Prior to the count, you will receive an email through that volunteer portal that you sign up for that gives you specifics of how to access the app itself, how to access the survey instrument, I should say. So in the meantime, the first step, it's kind of a two-step process. The first step is to download the Survey 123 app. get that on your phone, and then once that's ready to go, prior to the count, you'll receive a link and QR code, which when you click on that the survey instrument, it'll pop the survey up right up natively into the app. When you get to that point, these are the screens that you'll see. The far left screen here is the home screen for the ArcGIS Survey 123 platform. Oh, excuse me, let me make sure. Okay, here we go. This is the first screen here is the Survey 123 home screen. On the option below, you'll see that there's a continue without signing in option. That's the button that you'll need to push. Then you'll be directed to the home screen, which has the basic information: surveyor name, surveyor phone number, and some basic information below. Then, as I mentioned, the app will just kind of go through a series of about 5 to 10 questions. The survey will take about 10 or so minutes. It includes a script which you can ask the participants. And then at the conclusion of the interview, there's that check mark in the bottom right corner, which gives you the option to send now, and that publishes and releases the survey and sends it. Within the app, there's kind of two main paths in terms of how the survey gets completed. One is for the general survey for all persons or households willing and able to answer the survey question. One of the earlier questions in the survey kind of gets at this: are you willing to take this survey? And then you go through that process. In the situation where the person you're trying to interview is refusing to take the survey or unable to take the survey because they might be sleeping or otherwise, there's an observational survey, which are all questions designed to be done at a safe observation distance. Prior to the count, one of the kind of planning instruments that we're going to be working on is the soft count. The soft count is a way to kind of build up hotspot locations for city leadership to use, and unincorporated regions as well to use, to identify known hotspot locations. And it'll allow for team leaders on the day of the count to help organize teams to make sure we have proper coverage of the region. Within this soft count, it is it's a different data collection survey. And we're going to be pushing this soft count out through the city leadership groups that we've already been meeting with. So if you do receive this survey, please keep an eye out for it. And if you're interested in participating and helping identify hotspots for the jurisdiction, please let us know. In terms of the day of the count, one of the starting spots that we get asked a lot is what to wear and what to bring. A lot of the count experience will be typically, a lot of them are core driving routes, where a good chunk of the coverage will be done via vehicle. However, there are spots, parks and trails and riverbeds and whatnot that will require some comfortable shoes and boots or hiking shoes. Casual clothes, jeans and t-shirts, something that you're comfortable getting around in. Bright colored and reflective shirts can be really helpful on the day of the count. If you're working on behalf of an outreach agency or a jurisdiction or otherwise, some form of ID can be helpful. The app is pretty intensive in terms of battery usage, so having a fully charged cell phone can be extremely helpful. The early mornings of the count, it can still be dark out, so having a flashlight available can be helpful as well. Eating a light breakfast and having some small snacks on hand as well can be helpful, and then also something
Excuse
fanny
me.
pack or a backpack
Excuse
to
me.
to have this
The
information.
presentation is frozen.
Uh,
The presentation is frozen way back, about 4 slides back.
Okay, let me.
Oh, you can navigate it if you go to the bottom left. It'll have like an
Yeah.
arrow, and you can click on it yourself. Because I thought it was frozen too, but if you go
Okay.
down to the very bottom left corner, can you see it says 18 of 41? You can go back 17 of 41, etc.
It also
Let-
says to sync to the presenter, and then it takes us back to that same slide.
Maybe I'll go
Yeah,
out.
yeah, I didn't. I did that too, but I just navigated myself.
Can everyone see my screen all right? If I'm
Yes.
okay. All right, I just went into a little different presentation mode here, so hopefully this works a little better for folks. Can everyone see the what to wear and bring slide up on the screen now?
Yes.
All right.
Thank you so much.
Sorry about that. On the day of the count, you'll arrive at your site. Keep an eye out for the 2025 pit count signs. In advance of the count, you'll receive an email with your deployment center information, your site that you've been assigned to. When you get there, you'll check in with your lead and sign in and confirm you've submitted a liability release form. At each of the jurisdiction and unincorporated area deployment centers, there will be a city lead as well as a county lead who will kind of introduce the process, do a brief instruction refresher of what the day will look like, and then be around to answer any questions and really kind of get everyone set up and get into the team creation mode and get teams assigned. When you arrive, let the leads know if you have a vehicle on hand that you are able and willing to drive, if you are bilingual, and also if you have any experience with outreach. That can be a nice thing to mention to the teams as well. Additionally, if you could, in advance, hopefully by this time you will have access to Survey 123 tool and have that ready to go. Also on hand on the morning of, we'll have the QR codes and the links available to share as well. As a reminder, each team will be assigned to a count team. The teams are typically comprised of between 3 and 4 persons in each team. Each team will be provided with instructions of which area they're covering or specific maps of pre-identified hotspot locations. And each teams will then be responsible to canvass only their assigned areas. As a reminder, it is a countywide effort, so there's a lot of teams covering a lot of different areas. So just be mindful that covering your assigned areas is all we're hoping for.
James,
turn-
your presentation is
again.
no longer moving forward again.
Huh.
It's stuck on what to wear and bring.
That is so weird. Let me
Well, if you go in the bottom, there's like a cross, the bottom left. I know it's kind of weird, but you can navigate yourself.
But
If
we
that
don't know
happens.
when to change the slide. We're not the presenter.
I know, but I was just saying that just in case. But yes, it's on what to wear and bring, where it says on top, comfortable walking shoes.
Thank you, Rosa. Is there anybody on our team that maybe can try sharing the slides on James's behalf? Maybe if we control it, it might help.
Tanya, I also wanted to mention it could be connection problems because my chat's not working. I've been typing in messages and it keeps popping back to me. Even in the Survey 123 app, it keeps telling me I need to log in and then it doesn't want to recognize who I am. And I've had this since Survey 123 since we started using it several years ago.
Oh no. Okay, well, let's give it, I just got control of the presentation. Can you guys?
We can see you, Tanya.
Okay.
It might be
so-
due to power outages too.
I think so. You see, you guys are so helpful. You're the right people to help us with the point in time count. True problem solvers. So James, just let me know when I'm on the right slide. Is this where we need to be?
We were on day of the count.
I think he got disconnected because he was frozen for a little while.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, we can jump in. The good news is our team knows the content. So what was the name of the slide? I'm sorry.
Day of the count.
It said what to wear. The first line said comfortable shoes at the very top.
Slide 19, Tanya.
Okay. All right. So he talked about what to wear.
May
don't
I
wanna
suggest you
repeat
go
any-
back one slide because that was the slide before this did look like it had some good information for day of. And none of us saw it.
The day of the
That-
count, this one?
Thank you.
Okay, perfect. All right, so I'll get us going, and then once James comes on, he can take over. I know we're all experiencing different power outages. Some are scheduled, some are not. So blessed are the flexible, as our COC chair, Karen Roper, often reminds me. So on the day of the count, we are asking each of you to get to a deployment site. And I think I saw a question already in the chat box from someone saying they did not know which deployment site they are being assigned to. That just means that you have, a lot of you have expressed or identified multiple sites that you would be interested in supporting, and we thank you for that. Our volunteer registration is open through January 15th. And so after we close registration and we balance where volunteers need to go, you will receive an email announcement that will tell you what deployment site you need to report to. But the consensus, the plan is that every team, every deployment site will start at the same time between the hours of 5:30 to 9:30. When you arrive to the deployment site that you have been assigned to, you will be greeted warmly by both city and county staff who will check you in. It's important that you sign in so that we have a record of everybody that is participating in the count. For many reasons, we want to definitely acknowledge you after the count, but also you can imagine for safety reasons to make sure that we have a good record of who went out and came back. So in addition to checking in, make a note of that. We need you to come back and let us know that you have completed surveying the area that was assigned to you. Additionally, when you get to the deployment site, your city and county point of contact will basically put together a short briefing. And usually that's within like 5 to 10 minutes where they will just reiterate some of the things that we've talked about in this training, make sure that everyone has the Esri 123 survey app downloaded and that everything is working as it should. And then our goal is to identify persons in each deployment site that truly are community volunteers, and maybe this is their first time doing it, and make sure that we break off people into teams, taking advantage of any of you that are homeless service providers, facilitate street outreach and housing case management services day to day, and split you up amongst each of those teams so that we have really good diverse teams that can support each other. And with that said, in addition to wanting to split up homeless service teams, if you are bilingual, I think it's really important to make sure that you let that be known. This is the first year that we have both an English and a Spanish survey tool. So if you come across someone that is only Spanish speaking, you can see the value of being able to have someone on your team that can help conduct that specific interview. So I talked about how on the day of the count, you will be broken up into a diverse team of individuals, and that on that same day, we are working with cities sort of identify ahead of time to identify how to break up their particular jurisdictions so that each area is manageable for each team to cover. And so you will get very, very specific instructions saying, hey, this is a specific block or region that you are to cover. And here is where we want to ask for your help once you have your team. And you may want to give some thought to this now in thinking about what do you want your role to be? Because we are emphasizing that each team should be consistent of 3 to 4 people or more, because again, there's strength in numbers, but there's also safety in numbers. So one person in the team needs to serve as a team leader. This person would be someone that has previous experience facilitating the count and ensures that everyone in the team has their phone number just in case you do break up at any time. Another role within the team is a counter. So someone that is actually going to be facilitating the count. And again, these are roles that you guys can switch back and forth on, but it's good whenever you identify a group of people or a person that you're going to go up to communicate with your team to say, I will take care of this one. And I know when I was on a team, I was really excited about being able to interview someone. So don't be afraid to speak up. We really want everyone to get that experience. And then there should be at least a third person that is there. We call them the lookout, that just kind of keeps an eye on the area and assists the team leader with safety. The good news is across all of our cities, we have a lot of public safety officers, code enforcement, law enforcement officers that also support the team. So that will sort of just happen naturally. You can imagine they kind of take on that role.
Hey, Tanya, I think I'm back. If you can hear me okay. If you can hear me okay, I don't mind jumping back in. Okay, perfect. Go ahead. All right, and my apologies. I'm not sure. I don't know if I had an internet outage or what, but as a couple reminders, is it the checking in screen on the for everyone? No, it's not, but I'll share my screen again. So it is, because I think mine was. Yeah, if you don't mind doing that for me, Tanya, and there you go. Okay. With the checking in process, just a reminder to the check-in time is at 5 o'clock a.m. That's when we go through. Volunteers will have a chance to go through the sign-in sheet, and then also receive instructions and team assignments, maps. They'll receive the maps, field team supplies. Some badges, and really the main thing being the incentive bags as the giveaway for completion of the survey process. Those will be on hand in the morning for each team. So on the next screen here, you'll get a little glimpse of what the bags look like. They're kind of a fully loaded backpack which comes with plenty of supplies that I think over the years the individuals that are experiencing homelessness have found to be a nice incentive for completion of the survey. In addition to the backpacks, each team that will be out in the field will have a resource guide, and the resource guide is a handout for the individuals experiencing homelessness, which has an array of opportunities to connect them with services that they might find useful. Additionally, each team will have a More Than Account Initiative one-pager. And then for that piece, I'm going to actually hand things over to Rashana, who has a little rundown of how the More Than Account Initiative process is going to work on the day of the count. Rashana?
Thank you, James. And again, I want to thank all of you, all as Tanya and James already mentioned, for volunteering for this special day. I'm excited to talk about our More Than Account initiative, which is unique to Riverside County. And as Tanya mentioned before, we want to make this more than a count. So we came up with this initiative that we incorporated about maybe a little over 4 years ago to facilitate solid connections with individuals who are experiencing unsheltered homelessness for our vulnerable population. So we felt it was necessary, and we recognize coordinating this count is already a large effort, and we appreciate your commitment in making sure we maximize our time with our unsheltered neighbors and provide them with the opportunity for housing. So on the day of the count, you and your team will be you and the team will be assigned to a team. You will be able to ask any young adult who is between the ages of 18 to 24, which we often refer to them as TAY, Transitional Age Youth. Anyone who between the ages of 18 and 24, or an individual who is 60 plus years or older, or an individual or family who identifies as a veteran who served in the U.S. Armed Forces. You will be able to ask them if they would like like to be connected to same-day housing services. So once you come across the individuals in those special populations, you will be instructed to call the respective numbers that we'll provide to you, and they're listed on the screen. It is very important that you try to provide a very detailed description of where the individual was located, where you counted them, and any descriptors such as they had a red shirt, gray shirt, a big jacket, a big blue jacket on, and if they have a phone or phone number that could be shared to the dispatcher. So the person receiving this information with those numbers, they will dispatch transportation to pick up the individuals and transport them back to the access sites, which are located in Riverside, Hemet, and Indio. They are only located in those areas. However, they service anyone throughout Riverside County. And on the screen, you see that we try to break it out by districts. Just because we're only doing those sites. So we just want to make sure that we had coverage in all of Riverside County. So some questions you may receive from the individuals, or it may be around the housing type available, and you can let the individual know that this will include temporary emergency shelter, temporary housing, where they will work jointly with the case manager to identify more long-term permanent housing. So on the day of the count, after you check in, you're going to receive a short briefing facilitated by city or county staff reviewing this information, and you will also be provided with a handout with these these instructions on them. So don't worry, you'll be provided a handout on the day of the count with these instructions. We do want to thank all of our partners that are involved in the More Than a Count initiatives. We want to thank County Veteran Services, Adult Services, Housing Authority, the VA, Loma Linda. We want to thank Lighthouse Social Services, US Vets, California Family Life Center, Operation Safe House, Walden Family Services that are making this More Than a Count initiative possible. I do want to say that we are very fortunate to have the resources to provide this on the day of the count, because we want to make sure that it is truly more than a count. Yes, we counted them for other reasons, but more importantly, we're providing resources to these special populations. So we do want to thank our partners who stepped up to the plate and agreed to provide this information on the day of the count. So we did start this initiative back when with just veterans, but we've grown to the other two populations, primarily because we have the resources now to provide it. As you all know, we received our YHDP grant that serves our TAY population. So we wanted to truly utilize those resources. And we have a great partnership with Adult Protective Services that have resources for our senior population. Those who participated last year, you all know that they participated in the More Than a Count initiative last year as well. So we want to take advantage of the resources that Riverside County has to offer. So with that, I do want to hand it over to our very own Mar and Gershom to provide further guidance on how to best approach and serve our youth that are out there that you may come in contact with. Mar Gershom.
Yes. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Gershom Hiron. I am the Homeless Youth Coordinator for the Riverside County Continuum of Care. And so, we are, Mar and I are thrilled to participate, during the pig count as well as this portion of the meeting. We represent the Continuum of Care's Youth Action Board as well as the Youth Advisory Council, our committee, I should say. Both who have a significant role in planning and coordinating for the county's response to youth homelessness. And so we just wanted to emphasize a few key considerations when engaging with youth and young adults during the count. So similar to veterans and seniors, young adults experiencing homelessness have specific needs that are shaped by their life experiences. Both before and during their homelessness experiences. So these experiences can often lead to mistrust, which can make them less receptive to participating in the count. And so for this year, our goal is to pair up a Youth Action Board member with a team in every city to ensure that their presence is felt countywide. This will be easy for them to facilitate meaningful conversations with any identified youth on the day of the count. Additionally, if you or your agency has any team members within the age range of 18 through 24, or even individuals who may feel youthful, we strongly encourage deployment sites to spread out the young adult volunteers across county teams. In previous years, it has shown that young adults are more likely to respond positively when they are engaged and interviewed by a peer of a similar age group. So some of the other techniques that we would like to take into consideration is that if young adults initially hesitate to participate in the survey, we ask or we encourage you guys to pivot to offering the incentives, free backpack filled with hygiene supplies. Once you have their attention, we encourage you guys to share some of the housing opportunities that are available for them through the county. Ultimately this can spark interest in participating in the count and hope for housing opportunities as well. Lastly, just offering, like I said, offering tangible items, the backpacks, hygiene goods, or snacks even as an icebreaker. This could all really help with allowing them to participate, um, and reduce any skepticism and encourage dialogue. Um, I don't know if my colleague Mario would like to add anything else, but other than that, I will hand it back to Roshana.
No, thank you, Grisham. You covered everything perfectly. I do want to make space though for members. I know we have a couple that are on the call today if y'all want to share, but if not, feel free to type it in the chat as well on any advice on how to approach youth during the day of the count. And I'll pass it back to Rashawn.
Before I take it back, I know you wanted to pass it to you or any YAP members on the call before I get it back.
Tanya, are we still supposed to be on the More Than Account Initiative slides? We haven't moved in a while.
Yes, correct. And I think because of time, I'm going to go ahead and hand it back to James. I know we have questions. I'm going to ask questions be saved to the end just so we can try to wrap up the training, and then we'll open it up.
All right. Thanks, everybody. In terms of, in addition to the More Than Account initiatives, most of the counting teams included will have outreach staff and county staff familiar with community resources and experience in engaging and interacting with unsheltered populations. So that will be a resource for teams as well. Like Tanya mentioned, I'm gonna kind of go through the next 5 or so slides, a little on the quicker side, just due to time. Hope everyone's okay if it looks like we're going to be running about 10 to 15 minutes over. If you can't, feel free to chime in the comments, and we will follow up if you have any additional questions after the training. Did want to keep in mind a couple safety considerations. It is a interview based count. So especially if it's cold outside and you do see people having layers on a bunch of layers on under and on them to keep them warm enough. If they're dry, have uncontrollable shivers, these are all things to kind of keep note of. And as always, throughout the county, both sheriff and city police are aware of the count process underway. So feel free to reach out to 911 if there is an emergency or if there's any danger or risk during your count process. If we could flip over to the next slide in terms of participation interaction. These are a few things to kind of keep in mind. Be polite and ask if you can have 10 minutes of their time. The survey does take anywhere between 5 and 10 to 12 minutes or so, so being mindful of that. Reassure the person that the answers are completely confidential and anonymous. And if there are situations where providing further clarification or examples when individuals clearly do not understand the question, please be patient as you navigate through the interview process. Just as an overall rule with the point in time count, nothing is more important than the safety of you and your fellow volunteers and participants in the pit count. We don't anticipate anyone being in any dangerous situations. We've gone through a pretty thorough planning process, but just to keep that in mind, and just advise volunteers to abide by general safety practices. In terms of just a general safety tip and a reminder that we're asking all teams to return to their deployment center after they're done. Although everything is submitted through the app, we're still having teams return so we can go through a checkout process. And so please do not go home without first checking out back at your deployment center. A couple quick tips within the app, just ask all questions unless the person has already given the answer to the question over the course of your conversation. Always ask the question as they are written. Do not ask questions in a way that shows you think you already know the answer. For example, you would ask the question, how would you How would you define your gender? Do not ask you're male, right? So those are all prompts, and exactly how the questions are asked in the survey will be a good way to ask the questions. In terms of a couple guides to conducting the interview, again, within the app there is a intro provided on the survey. It says, "Hi, my name is blank. Today we're conducting a survey to better understand a person's housing status." Again, a reminder to it's really important to give folks a quick rundown that, hey, it is going to take around 10 minutes or so. And then just having a general approachable sense to the interview, and being mindful and considerate of the person and the condition and location of where you're interviewing them are all important things to keep in mind. Each question, we mentioned this earlier, each question typically will have skip logic based on the answer provided. There are built-in skip logic, so if they answer yes to a certain question, that'll prompt additional follow-up questions. Throughout the survey, there are options. If you begin a survey and then your interviewer is then kind of giving not responding or not answering certain questions, there are answers of don't know and no response to each of the questions that you can use. The final question will ask all individuals if they are interested in having a service provider follow up with them. So that's another kind of point where folks can receive additional services. After that, you can thank the person for their time, and then give them the incentive bag as a thank you. And then just take a couple minutes to confirm that the entry was properly submitted. All right. As a reminder, the volunteer registration closes on the 15th. Once your volunteer registration process is complete, you'll receive an email with specifics of time and location for the day of the count. Next slide. One of the things that we're recommending as the count gets closer is, once we do share the actual survey instrument link, we recommend you familiarize yourself with the survey. Again, you won't have this link ready quite yet. This will be published and shared out to the everyone registered on the volunteer registration form. And in that time, we recommend people familiarizing themselves with the format and the style and the skip logic and what have you. As a reminder, it is a rain or shine event. Because of the consolidated time restrictions of the last 10 days of January, we are pretty limited in terms of time. So we are planning rain or shine of being out there and getting the count done. If your plans change and your availability for the day of the count changes, please email us at the rivcopit@rivco.org website, or email address, I should say. Next slide. Here's the email address. Also, this email address is also for if any other questions come up, any specific questions to your city or your region or your assignment areas, please feel free to reach out and let us know. With that, just wanted to thank everybody for your participation in the lead up to the count. I apologize for my technical difficulties over here. Never a good time to have two internet outages over here. So my apologies, and thank you for your patience. And also just wanted to let folks know that we'll stick around. Hopefully everyone's comments and questions that were coming through in the chat were answered. We'll absolutely review those and answer them as they come in. And if you do have any questions, feel free to hang out here. We'll be around to answer those questions right now. But if folks don't have any questions, Tanya, should we go ahead and let folks take off if
Sounds good. Good to me. And again, you guys all know how to reach out to us, coc@rivco.org. And again, you will be getting further correspondence from us once you're assigned to your deployment site, and your city and county coordinators on the day of the count will be able to provide further support, technical assistance to make sure you guys are ready to go. So thank you again for your time, your commitment in helping us conduct this census and connecting with our unsheltered neighbors. As James said, we're going to stay on the line to support any questions that you have, and also a reminder to all of our city partners and county partners that this is very much a community meeting, so I imagine some of you may have feedback for us based on the current plan that we described, and so we'd love to hear from our COC members on any comments or feedback you have for us. So thank you again, and again, this is your time to unmute yourself and ask any questions. I do see some hands raised, so why don't I just go in order. I think the first question, actually it's hard for me to tell, so I'm just going to go in order. Raymond, you have a question.
I do. I have questions. So I worked with census for the last 2 decades. A couple of things that I wanted to just bring up, and I think they're important. No one mentioned the fact that we have to be sure to keep the information private. So when we run across the person that we know, there are certain ways to handle that. I think that's something that should be added to your training, because we are in small towns where we will probably know some of the people that are out there. I was concerned. I asked a question about non-binary when it said, do you identify as a male on the screen? And someone answered that non-binary was not part of the survey. So this is a binary survey, just male and female. That's the question. Sorry. Is the survey just binary, or is there a spot for those who do not identify as either?
I can
believe
answer
there
that
is
question. Yeah, there
Yeah.
is. Yeah. Go ahead, James.
Go ahead. Yeah, no, there are. Let me I can pull up the exact
Yeah, there
fields. Do you
definitely
have them
are,
up?
Raymond.
Okay.
Yeah. Let's see here. Yeah, so the response options, female, woman, girl if child, male, man, boy if child, transgender, female, transgender, male, non-binary, different identity, questioning, not listed, or doesn't know, refused. So
Thank
those
you.
are the response options included this year.
Thank you. There was no place to put it in my application. I did do this work in San Jose the past 2 decades, and I'm familiar with the process. So if someone wants to reach out, I'd be happy to be involved at whatever level. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Raymond.
Thank you, Raymond. Can you put your contact information in the chat? I'd love to reach out to you and have a separate conversation. Always looking for experts in the field to help us improve our processes. So thank you for speaking up. Next hand raised, Greg Snow.
Good afternoon. Just a quick question for those that might not be that familiar with it. I know I have been for a number of years, but all of this information as to where it's found. I know we always say it's being recorded. You can go on such and such website. I just want to make sure that that's shared for everybody, so that we have something to reference back to. unfortunately, my chat doesn't seem to be working, or I tried typing it in several times. So that was it. I just wanted to find out about that, because I knew one of the new things this year is on the More Than Account. We have the access points with Amy working one out here, and then Rashawn working in, and then I think Mar or someone else working out in the desert. That's something new, as well as like the deployment site locations and all that kind of stuff,
Yes.
where that's
so-
all found at.
Yes. So I'm glad that you mentioned that. Today very much was a community meeting, and we took advantage of incorporating aspects of the volunteer training so that people that participated today do not have to participate in another meeting. So with that said, we are planning on producing a volunteer training that is about 30 minutes in length, that anyone who participated today, but certainly volunteers that were not able to jump on the call or register after today, can access and watch at their own pace. So that will be shared, and I think that is being developed as we speak, which is why we very much appreciate your guys' feedback. It will be incorporated. And in regards to your comments about the More Than Account initiative, we referenced a one-page sort of flyer guide that will be made available to volunteers on the day of the count. So you have this, you can take it with you, and your city and county coordinators at each site will be able to provide further guidance to make sure everything is set to go. But thank you so much, Greg, and the CFLC team for supporting and serving as one of the access sites this year. Connie, we'll go to you. You want to unmute yourself? Okay, I think she might have.
Oh, there we go.
Okay, good.
Sorry, I was having trouble unmuting.
All good.
I just have a quick question. So I only registered myself, but I have a few other members of my team. So I want us to get us registered too, but I don't know if we can all be together or be in close proximity. How would we just reach out to someone to let them know that information at the time of like our volunteer stuff?
Yeah, so what I would recommend is register as soon as possible, and then select, I think you get to choose 3 deployment sites or cities that you want to participate in. So just make sure you select the same 3 cities. And then you can contact us. Let me put our COC email in the chat box. And if you want to just let us know, Connie, hey, these are the people from my agency, we'd like to stay together. So that way we have that note as a reference and can work on that once we start putting together those teams.
Okay, perfect. And then one more question. I know that you guys had, along with the pit count, sites where there were going to be like service sites to where people were going to be standing there just giving out information or having services or resources. Is that something that you're still having, or I was just wondering if that's going to be worked on as well?
So we are doing that as part of the More Than Account initiative. So it's population specific. So it's being offered to any young adults who are 18 to 24, seniors who are 60 years and older, and any veterans who have served in the U.S. Armed Forces. I'm being very specific because I know definitions can vary. But any of these individuals who want to get connected to housing will be transported to one of these 3 sites. And so all you have to do if you're a counter the day of, again, you're going to have a one-page guide that will tell you what number to call if you come across such an individual. And your piece in this process is to share the information with the person on the other end of the line as far as the name of the individual, the cross streets, and as Roshana specified, some identifying information like what they're wearing, so that from there, there will be a team of transporters who will be deployed to pick up that person and take them to that access site. I will say that in some cases, right, we've done this now, this is our 4th, 5th time. In some cases we show up and the person changes their mind, that's okay. And sometimes we get there and they're not sure, and we have to have a 5-10 minute conversation with them to really explain what is being offered at one of those access sites, and then we get them to jump on. So just know, even if they're not 100%, they may not be 100% certain, but if they're interested in housing, then we recommend facilitating the connection.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much.
No, thank you for asking the question. We'll go to Deborah Ann.
Hello. My question is, so I submitted my registration, but I think I'd like to revise it a little bit. And how do I go about doing that?
I don't know if there's anybody from our team that can speak to that technical aspect.
Yeah,
I can jump in on that one. Sorry, James.
No,
We've
go
had
ahead.
a couple people email in at the Rivco Pit email address to revise their registration. So Deborah, I'll drop that email in the chat. You can send us a
Super.
quick email and we can work with you to revise your registration.
Absolutely. Sounds great. Thank you.
Hey, Tanya, you're on mute right now.
Rachel. Can we jump over to Rachel? If you're able to unmute yourself, we'd love to hear your question.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
Okay. I don't know if this is a question for now or for a future meeting. I know in previous years, for those that were encountered and counted and wanted to be connected to services that weren't necessarily a part of the 3 specific populations, we had information like for behavioral health, we receive referrals or the contact information for these individuals. Is that still being done the same process so that we can connect them to services after the count, or is that not determined yet?
Yeah, so I know within the app, the last question has additional, if folks are interested in even additional follow-up services, we'll have the name of each of those and the contact information. So after that, we can go through and kind of review those and get back to folks as quickly as possible. And then obviously assigning those to matching them with intended this intended service that they're interested in will be a priority as well.
Okay, so do we know yet like what agencies, or like in specific for behavioral health services, is that going back to HOPE and then SAPT for substance use, those kind of things, or do we not know yet? Just because I don't do the actual out in the streets, boots on the ground count. I help out on the back end with connecting with them afterwards. So I'm just trying to find out for myself and my supervisor what to look forward to, if that's going to be the same process as it was in years before.
We'll have to follow up, Tanya. I'm not as familiar with that process, but yeah, having a system in place of kind of matching those services with different departments, I think will be a priority.
Yeah, I'll speak a little bit on that, Rachel. The reason I'm hesitating is you're right. In 2022, we made an effort to provide follow-up services to anyone who requested any level of assistance, not just housing, which is, as you've heard, specific to the More Than a Count initiative for those 3 populations. What we found was that it was really, really difficult for outreach teams in particular, or teams from like Behavioral Health HOPE, to be able to identify or locate specific individuals. And some of the consumer or feedback we received from our consumers or our unsheltered neighbors was that in some ways it brought false hope, right? Because they were told someone's going to follow up with you in 2 weeks. But sometimes as a result of sweeps or just weather, like people move. And so they're no longer like 2 weeks later, 3 weeks later, they're not at the same location where
Correct.
they were pinned for the point in time count. So I think that we are being extra sensitive about how we ask that question and not guaranteeing that there will be a follow-up in services. So as a result, our focus is much more on the more than account initiative, like what can we do for people that day so that we avoid sort of spreading that false hope. So,
Awesome.
so I think if you're in agreement, we'll stick to that plan. However, if you are like, you know what, I disagree, I want that list, we want to provide follow-up services, we're happy to share that as well. You know, it doesn't hurt. So we'd love to get your feedback.
Let me get with upper management here with Hope, just because we want to make sure that we are as proactive as we can be, but I totally agree. I think with behavioral health, we got like, I don't know, thousands of them. So I just wanted to see if that was something we were expecting again, or if there's a different process. So I'll get with John and Monique, and then we can talk offline.
Thank you for bringing it up. So again, not at the present moment, it's not a plan, but we're happy. We have 2 weeks. And 2 weeks for us is a lot of time, so we can plan and coordinate if we need to. Okay.
Okay, perfect. Thank you so much.
Thank you. We'll jump over to Aaron. Oh, Aaron is a deputy, and he is probably responding to a crisis.
Hello, Deputy Patch of the Sheriff Department. Can you hear me?
Thank you. Did you have a question?
Yes, I did. So as far as our role, because I know we're going to be having our station hosting the volunteers that are going to be covering our area, are we going to be provided with a list of who's going to be volunteering for our area in advance? And then will they be bringing over those bags that we're going to be giving out to the unsheltered, or do we have to pick that up?
So Aaron, I will be honest and say we're hoping that you guys can pick up the incentive bags. We need a lot of help, but certainly if that is a barrier for any of your stations, let us know and we will figure it out. In regards to volunteers, we were just talking about this yesterday, and if Rachel's still on the line, Rachel, I'm just going to make a note to follow up with you and Marcus Cannon and other supervisors from behavioral health on this. Is historically our behavioral health HOPE teams have assisted each of the sheriff stations with facilitating the count in the unincorporated areas. And I think this year we're thinking of also looping in other county contracted street outreach teams. Many are nonprofit organizations you probably have heard and worked with, like CityNet and Step Up. So if you're one of those agencies I just listed on the line and more, we'd love if separate from the day of the count, if you guys can help support the count in unincorporated areas, which is usually done the next day or that Friday that follows. So we are, I think James, right, finalizing our contacts for each of the stations, and then our plan is to hold one big separate meeting with you guys, Deputy Aaron, to finalize that process. But yes, our intent is to coordinate volunteers. Sorry for so much information.
Yeah, no problem. I appreciate it. I'm sure, yeah, we'll be able to go and pick up the bags that will be dropped off. I just need to know, like, obviously when and where, and then the sooner that we can get a list on who will be coming into our station, the better. And then also, I believe I mentioned it already to Alex, but we're going to be doing our unincorporated count on the 22nd, the same as the city. For us, we're all the previous years we were able to get it done within a few hours, so there's really no reason for us to do it on a separate day.
We are major fans of doing that, so if you can get it done, even better. Thank you so much.
Yep.
Okay, Selena. Selena, we can't hear you. I know sometimes unmuting oneself can take time.
Hi, can you hear me?
We can hear you now, yes.
Okay, sorry about that. So I was just wondering if by chance you had like some type of roster or a list of people who have been registered already. I'm just asking just because I didn't receive the email for this meeting and I did register. So I'm wondering if you are able to give me that information now or if there's somebody else that I need to contact.
Hey, Selena, I'll jump in on that one too. You can go
Okay,
ahead and email the rivcopit.org email address. I'll drop it in the
perfect.
chat one more time and I can confirm for you.
Okay, yeah, I have the email, no worries.
Thank
And
you.
I'll email you shortly.
Perfect, thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lizzie. I'll need to remember that we have a Rivco Pit email. Keep directing everybody to the COC. Either way, we will get back to you. But it just streamlines things, which I know is what Lizzie is trying to do. We'll jump over to Eddie Ortiz. Hi, Eddie. We know you very well.
Hey, how you doing, Tanya?
Good.
Hey, my quick question is on my registration, because I do the San Jacinto area, and I wanted to stay in this city. We have Hemet and San Jacinto, but when I selected San Jacinto, it said staff only. I selected that one, and then I did Hemet, but we already have two peer navigators who are volunteering at Hemet. I just want to know, would I be able to stay with the San Jacinto team since I'm the peer navigator for the river bottom and the whole city of San Jacinto? I would like to stay with the team out here if possible, if that's
Remind me again, Eddie, you are with what organization? Is it
Healthcare in Action.
Healthcare in Action? So there were, and correct me if I'm wrong, James, Lizzie, but I think there were some specific cities that did not wanted to only utilize city staff to facilitate the count. I think that's why it's not giving you the option to register. And so the city of San Jacinto is one of those.
Yeah, and just to chime in here, Tanya, I can check with the San Jacinto team. It could be one of these situations, Eddie, where they're already banking on you being a part of the San Jacinto team. So let me circle back with them and just confirm. But obviously, I agree with you. If you have extensive knowledge in the San Jacinto, it makes sense to get you partnered up there.
Yeah, I do both San Jacinto and Hemet, but we already have a Hemet team, and I work alongside with the outreach sheriffs out here in San Jacinto, alongside with CityNet as well. So all their
Gotcha.
clients are my clients. So I would just like to be part of that team to help them,
Okay.
and with my clients and their clients as
Yeah,
well.
I
Okay.
wouldn't let that San Jacinto staff scare you off. Then I'm sure they're probably already planning on you being a part of the team anyway. So
Oh yeah, man. Yes.
all right,
I
we'll
I
circle
did the
back with
pick.
them though.
I've done the pig count before, but I want to help out the city. So
Awesome.
all right, thank you. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Eddie.
Would I receive an email or something, or just wait till you guys give me
Yeah,
notification?
we'll follow up. I'll follow up with you, Eddie.
Okay. Thank you much. Good to see you, Tanya.
Likewise. We'll
All
jump over to Rebecca. And Rebecca,
Scented bags.
oh, perfect.
Okay.
Just takes
Oh,
a second.
all right. Thank you. So with regards to the scented bags, to pick them up, do we have a day and a time and the location as into where we can go pick them up? And I'm only asked, or is that going to be something that's going to be emailed to us? Only because we have to make sure we have staff available to do that.
My understanding is that is still being finalized, the pickup date and time. But as soon as those pickup locations and times are finalized, we're going to send a blast out to all the city leadership groups that we've been working with and make arrangements to get those bags picked up.
Okay, great. Thank you.
And then Raymond, I think you had your hand up again. I'd love to hear from you.
Yeah, I did want to ask, is there a script that you're asking people to use? And if so, can you send the script out? Because I haven't received, other than the email saying this was happening, that's all I've received. It would be good to have the script in advance so we know the words and have said the words. I saw somewhere where we should practice with someone. It'd be useful for us to have the right words to use. That particular example that was used about aren't you a male? I think that's very important to a lot of the folks in this group. that will be counting, the gender especially.
Yeah, absolutely. So that will be, I believe the plan is typically about a week before the actual count that the Survey 123 form will be distributed. So folks will have about a week to kind of go through that, go through and practice and familiarize themselves with the survey instrument.
Okay, and it's verbatim from hello to goodbye. I mean, there's no room in
Yeah.
there for woofing. Okay,
Yep.
good. Thank you. Oh, and cultural competency. That was the other question. Sorry. Most of us are more fortunate and may not have experienced this. I know many folks who are experiencing it. There is a separate culture, a subculture, shall we say. There's leadership roles and such in some of the camps and such. That sort of cultural competency will be reflected in each of the teams. There'll be somebody that's experienced in that.
Yeah, so both. So that training will be part of what's included in the, I talked about the YouTube video that will be shared with all the volunteers that they can watch at their own pace. So it would also be reflected there. But also on the day of the count, the city and county coordinators will do a briefing in which they will reiterate some of the training components that speak to that, Raymond. And then I think the recognizing that, right, some of us are like we learn on the spot with live training. I think we've been very intentional about making sure that people like you and others that have done this work are embedded in every single team so that they can help support and make sure that those principles, those values are embedded and kind of carried with the team that is going out into the field and surveying. So yeah, we are being extra thoughtful about making sure that we have street outreach workers, housing, homeless service, case managers that are culturally competent, but also sensitive to these specific things on every single team.
Thank you.
I'm glad you're speaking to that, Raymond, because my team knows I just had a conversation with them about this yesterday and how we need to make sure that in addition to the technical, sort of like the logistic pieces of the training, that we are very much incorporating that piece. So, so thank you for bringing that up again. And I see that Roman, our friend, partner in Palm Springs, is on the line, has her hand raised. Roman, we'd love to hear from you.
I missed a couple of things. The deploying site, the deployment site for everyone, that is going to be known to everyone at a later date, correct? So everyone's going to get where they need to show up at a later date. Okay, got that. So the little briefing that we have to have, because we're going to have so many people, we expect to have the press and everything like that here. The little briefing that we have is probably going to be a little bit longer out here. I'm asking people right now that I know that are already going to volunteer to be here and almost be ready to deploy by like 5:45 because we can be out on the street by 6 o'clock. Is that something that does anybody see that as an issue or problem? And then last thing is but no, you answered that already. The bags are going to come to us. We're not picking them up after all, or is that's what we had a plan originally, something like that, right? So those are my questions.
Tanya's on you.
Sorry, yeah, I was going to say, Roman, we are very much asking if each of the city point of contacts can pick up the incentive bags. So once they are ready to go, we will be sending out an email. I believe we have them at 3 different locations, sort of regionally, one in the Coachella Valley as an example, Mid-County, Western Riverside. So we do need you to pick those up and instructions on when and where will follow. So more to come on that very, very soon. I'm trying to think of your other question.
The other one was the timing, with regard to the timing, Roman. We know there's one of the deals when there's so many cities throughout Riverside County, that there's going to be little nuances and timing differences and issues. But big picture, 5:45, no issue with that. That's all good.
Okay. And then one last thing, because like I said, this is my first time at this one, with the idea of, I'm assuming that our media team is going to be taking care of the media and whatnot. So we're not really going to have to be trying to split, time between them. I don't know, Tanya, I guess because you have been here before and you have been part of that process. Is there anything, maybe there's a tip that you can give me, or anything that I should be thinking about, looking forward to, or that might be a little bit different than some of the smaller towns,
Let me think on that, because that's a good question. I'll be honest. You're right. I know that the city of Palm Springs has been extra gracious and allowed us to use your site location as a place where media can set up. So I know that takes a lot of time. Yeah. Greg Rodriguez has, now that I'm thinking, he has been at your site, and I do think he may plan to do so again this year. So I'll connect with him, Roman, and we know how to hunt you down. So we'll circle back with you and let you know if there are other considerations, but appreciate you speaking up. We want to make sure that you guys are well supported there.
Thank you.
And Raymond, I saw your comment about personally identifiable information is concerned, especially when press is involved. So yes, the press is usually there to interview staff or volunteers prior, and usually all of that is like right there. They're getting some footage before volunteers go out, and we have staff already prepped and identified that are going to speak in general terms about how the account is facilitated, the purpose, etc. I have seen that sometimes media will go out and engage, but they always ask. My point is that at least if it's the county's media team, we do not facilitate interviews without a person's consent. So we actually have a release form that individuals sign before we certainly capture that footage, but certainly before anything is like published and put out. So I appreciate you emphasizing that. I agree, it's really, really important. Okay, I'm a little slower, so just double checking. I don't see anybody else's hands raised, but we're here and able to support any additional questions, comments. So just give it another minute before we sign off.
Tanya, I do see some questions in the chat that weren't answered. Would you guys like me to read them out?
Oh, sure, that'd be great.
Okay. The first one was, when will the presentation be sent out?
I'm giggling inside, but I do think that we can send it out following. Either maybe we do it tomorrow as a recap, and then I think that what we've done previously is post a copy of this recording and the PowerPoint on the page where we have the point in time count information. I think it was Raymond or someone else that mentioned just making sure that it's accessible.
Yes. And then another question was, when are we supposed to receive the email of our assigned location?
Okay, and that one we did answer and speak to that following the close of registration, and usually a week before the count. Everyone who signed up to be volunteer will get an email announcement letting them know where to report to.
Great, and I think those were the only two that I had seen.
Okay, perfect.
I
Thank you
think
for
I have
double
one more
checking.
question. I just have one more question.
No, you've reached your cap, Roman.
I know, right? I'm
I'm
sorry.
just teasing you.
No, see, Tanya, you lost. I lost my question. It's not that. I'll get it. It's nothing important. I'll get it. I'll figure it out.
You know how to
Sorry.
hunt us down. You have
I
the
do.
number.
I do.
our
I do.
email.
I do. Thank you.
All right. James, if you're good, then I think we're good. And we will go ahead and move forward with ending the meeting. I just want to thank everyone again for hanging with us till the very end. This just shows your commitment and that you were like, I need to make sure I hear everything so that I'm prepared for the count. And we certainly appreciate that. We appreciate you. And as was mentioned to Roman, that is really meant for you all, that you know how to reach us. The Rivco Pit email was included in the chat box. We'd love to hear from you. Don't hesitate. And remember, we have 2 weeks before the count, and we want to make sure that we do the best job that we can, both on the technical piece, but as Raymond pointed out, in both principle and mission, to make sure that we are meeting people where they're at in a way that is inclusive and gets them the services that they need. So thank you all for helping.
I know my question.
Okay.
I'm sorry. The amount of people, the amount of volunteers that were originally asked for, or that Palm Springs originally asked for, I was told was way too low, and I need to ask for more. So how do I go back and ask for more volunteers?
You can, yeah, if you can just hit that Rivco Pit email address, or you can just email me, and we can update the quota in our volunteer table.
Okay, cool. Thanks.
All right. Thank you, guys. Signing out. Have a great afternoon and rest of your day. We'll be seeing you soon. Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you, everyone.